Satnam aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And it looks like my microphone is on. It looks like I'm on. So if you could put down your human design type and profile and your astrology information if you feel called. And we'll get into this here. So you can see my chart here for March 1st. Happy new month. We're out of this leap year yesterday, which was a weird day. Okay. So you can see that the sun and the earth have just moved into I call them the crazy gates, the 64 and the 63. And you can see them at the top here. This is the crown chakra. Crown chakra. Okay, good. You can see my highlighter. The crown chakra for yogi language. So basically, this drawing, if it were like accurate, spiritually accurate, it would be above. It would be above the head. That's why it's crazy gates. Crazy gates, because if you have these natally, maybe you've got the 64, the 61, or the 63, it means that you're not really connected to Earth, right? There's a part of you that's not really grounded. It's not really here. And that's healthy for you actually if you have these gates. So what I say, it's like having an antenna up to the divine, right? Up in the ethers, and that you can receive downloads with this because you're kind of part of you is in the ethers and right, and the other part of you is here in the earth plane. But they can cause people to go crazy, and I'm using that language loosely, right? Is because it's the shadow of doubt, right? The shadow of doubt, right? It's not great here, and confusion. I'm sure you're doubting what I'm writing here. That's a D. So doubt and confusion right here for the 63 and the 64. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, there's a mental pressure. There's always a mental pressure. So we live in a pressure sandwich. We've got root chakra pressure, and then we got mental pressure here. And so this pressures us to get rid of the doubt and to get rid of the confusion. So we need to remember that the mind. Actually, before I get into that, I just want to talk about Mars and Venus are together, 13.5 and 13.1. And I told you that this year is a lot about our relationships. And look at it here on the astrology. You can see it's 13 degrees Aquarius for Mars, 17 degrees Aquarius for Venus. But there's Charlico right in the middle, the divine feminine, Chiron's wife, right? So there's a deep, deep healing going on in terms of our relationships. And the 13 is about listening. I talked about this in a previous video. It's about listening. It's the gift of empathy, being able to listen to one another. So maybe you're not in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship, it's really about your masculine and feminine energies coming more and more into balance, especially with Saturn in the 37 there. And that's all about gender and equality. The 30 Saturn is in there. So that's interesting. And you can see we got this big party, right? We got an Aquarius party and a Pisces party, and these are the last two signs of the zodiac. So this is huge. And then Chiron is still with the North Node, not exact, but still there. And then Uranus and Jupiter are inching closer together. But I'll talk about that in another video when that comes closer. Okay, so back to this doubt, this doubt. So we need to talk about how the mind works. So I want to remind people that we're moving from a mental awareness system. This is part of the evolution of humanity, and we're moving into a solar plexus awareness system. So this means that we will no longer be experiencing the world and the reality and life through the mind, through the mind. We're going to be moving into this new awareness system, right? Solar plexus awareness system. But we need to know how our mind works, okay? So the mind is not meant to be your decision maker. It's not meant to be your authority. And this is what has happened on this planet because we've been in this mental awareness system. And yes, it has served us, right? To stay alive. The species is still alive. So we're successful in that sense of the word. But now it's time to evolve and to transcend out of this mental awareness system. So you need to understand your mind, right? And the first thing you have to realize with the mind is that it's your tool. Your mind is your tool. It's like a tool in the toolbox, your mind. It's not who you are. And a lot of people are very identified with their mind. They believe that they are their mind. They believe that those thoughts that are coming from their mind are actually theirs, and it's not true. So, how do you realize that my mind is just a tool? Well, you need to meditate. You need to meditate, and that's why the spiritual traditions have taught meditation. It's about creating a relationship between you and your mind, and that way you're able to witness your mind and you don't get caught up in it, right? Into the thoughts, because the mind is always on the move. It's like a shark, it's never still, right? People say, oh, I want to meditate because I want my mind to stop. And it's like, good luck with that. Meditation doesn't give you that. Meditation gives you the relationship with the mind, and then the mind's volume gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, right? So that's number one. And I've got lots of free meditations on my YouTube channel for you to practice. Like this is the time to start just to commit to a spiritual sadhana. This is a daily practice. Every morning you get up and you can meditate as little as 3 minutes to like 2.5 hours. It's up to you, right? But even a little tiny bit, like especially with Kundalini yoga meditation, because the technology is so powerful that you can benefit just from 3 minutes a day with meditation. And then you're not caught up in it. You're not making your decisions, right? From this crazy mind that's up and down, up and down. Um, okay, so let's look at the card here. So basically, you're going to find with this transit that you're under this pressure. There's going to be doubts coming up. There's going to be confusion about your life. There's going to be doubts about what you're doing, right? Doubts about where you're living, doubts about the relationships you're in, right? And looking to the mind to try to figure that out. Forget it. Now, remember, if you've got an open crown, if you've got an open crown, you're going to have an open ajna too. They go together. If these two are open, which is 70% of the world, 70% of the world have an open crown and open ajna. They're not supposed to be like, look at that. That means their thinking is off. It's not consistent, right? And so there's going to be a lot of people on the planet through this week with this transit trying to figure out with the jungle, because the mind is a jungle, trying to figure out what's going on to get rid of this doubt and confusion. And this is just how your mind works, right? So you just let it be. You just let your mind be. Let it be a tool. It's just going through its process. You don't interfere, right? But you only can do this when you realize that you're not your mind. Otherwise, you're caught up in it. So you can imagine with that pressure, 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 and then making decisions from that place that are not going to be correct for you because the mind is not your authority. Okay, so the tarot card that correlates to the 63 all week long, it's like in this it's the second decan of Pisces. Nine of Cups, and this is wish fulfillment. This is all your wishes coming true. This is emotional fulfillment. Remember the last card that I did for the last video? I think it was the last video. It was I forget what it was. But anyway, it was the Eight of Cups, remember? and he was leaving the Eight of Cups, and this is what he was coming to, the Nine of Cups, and this is wish fulfillment. So have no doubt, no doubts about that, and no confusion about that, that your wishes will come true. This is what this is saying. And right in Pisces, this is about having faith and trust in the divine. So that's positive. Okay. So I don't want to talk about this anymore because I don't want to confuse people and I don't want people to get into doubt. All you need to know is don't listen to your mind this week. It's going to be under pressure. People around you are going to be under pressure. This is not the time to look to this mind for solutions. The solutions will not come from your mind. They're going to come from life, right? The solutions, they'll be unexpected, right? It's all about you being in the flow, right? All those Pisces planets, that's totally telling us that we need to look at all of them, telling us to be in the flow. It's time to be in the flow and trust life. Um, okay, so we know the mind's a tool. So what I do want to talk about is the solar plexus mutation, just to put everything in context here. Um, so the a lot of human design. This is like a popular analogy that Ra has used, the teacher of human design, right? That we're riding this limo. That's our physical body. There's a magnetic monopole that's driving us. That's pulling us basically through time and space, or it's drawing whatever perspective you have, or it's attracting everything and everyone that you need, right? In terms of your destiny and your soul purpose. And then you're the passenger. That's you, right? And I call it the sattvic personality. This is not not the ego that we understand it is. This is like the subtlest of the subtle. You would even say this is the soul, right? This is the soul. So basically, with human design, you want to surrender. This is what it means to surrender, surrendering your authority from the mind to the soul, to the soul. So we're in this great transitional period now, right? So, and then you're sitting back, right? You're sitting back in your limo and you're enjoying the ride. You're enjoying your movie. Um, okay. So if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, because I approach this as a spirit in a spiritual perspective, because that's just who I am. That's my essence. Okay, so if you look at the sun, this is a great way to understand it. The sun, the self, this is the capital S self, the higher self. This is the self that we all share. So imagine that's the sun. This is formless awareness. And then all of those rays are the souls. The billions and billions of rays are the souls that are on the planet, right? So that array, but the ray's coming from there. So it's individuated in a sense, isn't it? See? But it's coming from this oneness, right? This oneness, but then it's individual. This is your uniqueness. The ray is your uniqueness, right? So this is the soul, and that's the passenger. So you can see all these souls and all these limos. These are all the bodies on the planet, but this is where we all come from, is this self. So this is what enlightenment is, the ultimate spiritual self-realization is the realization that we're this. Okay, so this is directly connected to the solar plexus mutation. This is where we're going to be experiencing um, our life and creation and each other is from the self. So there's a great mutation that's happening on the planet. Okay, so I love this too. So there's the sun and the rays, and then you have your own sun. And that's your solar plexus. That's the second brain. Has nothing to do with, right? It's like it's your second brain. And this is what's being awakened, basically, is our solar plexus. And this is directly connected to our emotions, right? Directly connected to our emotions. So this is where you want to bring your focus, not out of the mind and what's going on with the mind and trying to appease the mind, and you'll never bring peace to the mind, right? It's to bring your attention to your emotional body. That's where your work is, right? Your emotional body. So we got to talk about the dragonfly. I love dragonflies. They follow me wherever I go. Wherever I go, I'm seeing dragonflies. So this is a great way. Richard Rudd actually made this connection, which I love. So it's how the dragonfly develops, right? Is directly connected to the solar plexus mutation, and it gives us an understanding, right? A deeper understanding. So the dragonfly lives as a nymph. It's called a nymph, and it's underwater. Lives underwater. And so basically it's very successful as a predator. It eats leaf litter and small fish even. And it doesn't have to come up for air like other insects. So it's completely underwater, right? Happy there, living. And as it matures, it reaches a point where it goes through molts, right? So it's shedding its skin basically, but it remains a nymph underwater. And this can last several years, this process. And then these hidden mutations are taking place, right? So one day, all of a sudden, out of the blue, completely out of character, right, from with this nymph, is that it sees a plant stalk right there. There's a plant stalk coming out of the water, and it starts to climb up that plant stalk into the sun, right, into the air. So, and this is the first time that it's like tasted air and felt sunlight, right? So then the sun begins to work on it. This is really important. The sun begins to work on it, and this is the final molt that it goes through, this nymph to become a dragonfly. And so for several hours, there's the four crumpled wings. You can see them there. They begin to appear, and then a slender thorax begins to uncurl. So this radical transformation, because it's moving from the water element into the air element, um, it needs the water for this to happen. So this is the old water that's still in the body, right, from his previous life in the water element. So it needs that water for the mutation to take place, and this is key to the transformation. So the water is pumped into the emerging wings, those four wings, and the thorax. So the water is driving the mutation, and then the dragon takes flight. That's how it works. So for us with the solar plexus mutation, the water element is our emotional body. And that's all you can look at it as our past, or all of our past experiences that we've gone through. Well, they were necessary. There was nothing wrong with the experiences that you've gone through. They were necessary. So this is the substance, or the substance you need for this awakening to take place. So this is what's happening with the solar plexus. And it's connected to the sun, right? It's connected to the sun. So you can see why the powers that be want to block the sun, right? There's a lot of this is our spiritual information basically. And right, the neutrinos, 70% of the neutrinos come from the sun. So this is what's happening with our emotional body. That's where all the action is. It's not up here in the mind at all. It's in our emotional body. So, right? And so they're trapped. Okay, you've had experiences, but like I say in my programs, and I think I've said this in other videos, that the experiences don't get fully digested because we're digesting experiences, right? We're spiritual beings having human experiences. But because of the world that we live in, where emotions are repressed, everything is about repressing emotions, right? Seeing them as, you hear don't be hysterical, don't be out of control, you need to be rational. You hear that. You see this battle happening on the planet now with the well, it's the masculine and feminine, right? So to be rational, facts, your facts don't care about your feelings and things like that. This is the conflict that's going on. But remember, with I just want to say briefly with what is happening in the world with this emotionality is it's not digesting those people are not digesting their emotions fully. So they are not the poster child for a solar plexus mutation. It's like staying in the water, but you're on the surface where all the waves are. You're not processing and going deeper, right? And processing those emotions. Like, why are you triggered? Well, it's coming from the past. It's all about processing our past. But emotionally, we're processing our past, not with our mental body. And this in turn creates this mutation, right? This mutation that we're all going through. So that's what I would say. And especially if the mind starts really, really acting up, like, when you're in this negative loop, it's like a negative loop and you're negative, like everything, the glass is half empty, just seeing the worst things that could happen, waiting for the other shoe to drop in fear, right? And the mind just goes, 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 goes. That's a sign that your emotional body is calling you. And then what is it calling you to do is to feel it and allow a space and feel it. So this mutation can happen for you. Uh, what else did I want to say about that? Hmm. Okay, let me look at some comments and then I'll get to a reading here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I love the dragonfly. The shadow. There are modern day dragons. Um, yeah, a lot of people were taught that to over intellectualize our feelings, our emotions, and not to see them as the wisdom. This is what the solar plexus mutation is teaching us, that there's wisdom in our emotional body. And look what it's bringing us to. It's bringing us to enlightenment. This is like the great awakening that's happening on the planet. But this is not about concepts. That's the mind. This is about a deep experience. The solar plexus mutation gives you a deep experience of this, that we're all one, we're all connected. And yet we're these unique rays too, right? The paradox. Okay. Okay. So that's what's happening. That's the big picture, and I'll keep reminding people of that, even with these transits, to connect it back into like what's happening, what's going on here. Well, this is what's going on, the Great Awakening. Okay. Okay. Russell, just to address the question here, Russell asks, what does it mean if we have the 64, 63 in the top part? Well, you're going to resonate with it. You already have it, right? Where to look though is if you've got the say you got the 47 or the 4, but you're open natally, then it's going to connect you, right? It's connecting, and so it's going to give you this consistent way of thinking, but it's not going to be appropriate for you because it's not natal to you. Again, get your head out of the get your head, get yourself, your awareness not focused on your mind, right? Can you do that? Like, oh, there's my mind in doubt. There's my mind in confusion, what Michael was talking about. I'm not going to pressure myself to figure this out with my mind. I'm just going to let the mind do its thing. It's like a movie. Just let it run the reel. But you're not making decisions from that place. That would be my number one guidance is do not make decisions right now from your mind, right? It's just going to take you down a dead end road. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to pick some ego cards because that's really our greatest enemy is our ego, which is part of the mind. It's the identity, right? Okay. I got this crazy jaw thing that's happening. It's from the online retreat. Just a lot of energy is moving. Is anybody experiencing that jaw stuff? It's quite interesting. That's the thing with the mind, or not the mind, but the body. It's like we've got this amazing awareness and consciousness, and it's moving really, really fast and growing and expanding, right? Our consciousness, but then we have these ancient vehicles, right? So it's working with this ancient vehicle cannot move as fast as consciousness, you know? That's what I'm feeling. Okay. So let's go for the generators. And so look at my placard here. Next online retreat, I'm going to be announcing the theme. I'm going to do some research um, maybe tomorrow, the weekend, just to see what the energies, because I like to align the theme with whatever energies we're going through. So we'll look at March. There's a lot going on in March, but want to really research and then listen to my intuition. So by the next video, I'll definitely have the theme. But keep that in mind, March 29, 30, and 31. Okay. So we're gonna go for the generators card. And so once that emotional body is really purified from the past, and this is all your inner child work and your shadow work, then you're going to come to it's not going to be this emotionality, but it's going to be a feeling tone. And your feeling tone, that's how the soul communicates to you, is through feeling, not through your mind, through feeling. And then we can use our mind, like mine, I'm left. If you have my recorded reading, you know, the mind, right? The variables. My variable is left. So that means I can translate that feeling into words, into a concept, and be able to communicate that to other people and you, right? But the soul communicates through feeling, via feeling tone. Okay. So I want to pick a card for the generators, our generator friends, and what they need to know for this week. What ego trap is up for them this week? What do we have for the generators? Doubt and confusion. Closer to me. Okay, I'm trying to stay. So the generator, I've got tit for tat, it's called. Tit for tat, keeping score. So this is an ego dynamic to watch out for this week. And it's going to especially come up in terms of our relationships, right? I just want to draw your attention to Venus and Mars and the 13. It's about listening to each other. It's the shadow of discord, which means you're not listening, right? So listening, uh, where we go? Listening. That's what we don't do enough with one another. Just listen to one another. So listening isn't about listening with your two ears, right? People think listening means waiting. I'm waiting with my rebuttal. I'm waiting to talk. That's not listening. That's you're still in your noisy mind. That's why there's so much conflict on the planet. We don't know how to listen to each other. This is becoming really, really present with no thought. You completely empty your mind. And then you're listening, not with your two ears, but you're listening with your whole being. You're listening to that other person's being, right? So keep that in mind. And then doubt, the shadow of doubt, how this works. Remember, it's a mental pressure generators that we're under to alleviate this doubt. So there can be doubt inside you, and then you project it onto another person, right? This is becoming suspicious of that other person. Like, what are they up to? They got some hidden agenda, right? And you're not seeing clearly, right? You can't listen to that other person if you're suspicious and doubtful of them and what they're saying. No matter what they say, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it, and it may or may not be true, right? So this is when you're listening to your mind, and you're not listening to your soul, your intuition, right? There's going to be a lot of doubt and suspicion of one another this week. Um, so tit for tat is keeping score, right? I did this for you. You do that for me. And then doubting when they're not returning, right? They're not reciprocating. So just watch this with generators. Just when you're giving, selfless giving is just giving from a place of like, I am overflowing. I'm overflowing, right? Just in terms of presence, I'm going to give some of my presence with this listening. I'm going to give that person my full attention, and I'm not going to expect anything in return. I won't expect them to do that for me, right? This is where the ego stops us. Well, don't, nah, they would never do that for you, the doubt, right? They never do that for you. They don't care. They're just going to exploit you, take advantage of you. The ego doesn't want us listening to each other, and the ego doesn't want us giving to each other, right? So that's the greatest gift you can give someone. It's just your presence, right? Your presence and giving them your full attention, right? Really, really listen to them. That's unconditional love. So unconditional love is to know this, right? That we're all come from here. This is what wants to give, right? It's constantly giving. This is what's animating you. You're not alive without this ray, you know? You're just a zombie. You're not alive. This is what animates you, is the soul. And the soul wants to give, right? Back to the sun. The sun just wants to give. It doesn't care who, I don't like that flower over there. I don't like this species over there, right? It shines on everybody. That's the self, right? So this is to watch this week. Is this doubt coming from a real place about this person, or am I projecting my own shadow of doubt onto them? Or my own shadow of confusion, because they work together, right? Those are programming partners. Um, and just give with no expectation of of reward. You know, that's the fastest way. That is the fastest way to raise your vibration. If you're feeling really, really negative and you're in a negative state, that means your vibration's down. Well, the best way to raise your vibration is to go out and serve, go out and just give, right? Give to somebody, help somebody without any expectation. That's going to raise your frequency, right? Because that self loves to give. It just wants to give. The soul just wants to give because it's giving to itself, because we're all come from that self, right? So it's just giving to itself. Okay, we have to get out of these dynamics, right? So that's what I got for the generators. And in terms of this giving thing, like let's bring it back to you, the yes or no. Your sacral will let you know. Your mind's not going to let you know who to give to and who not to give to, because the mind and the ego are, WIFM, what's in it for me? That's the mind and the ego, how it thinks. How can I get something out of this? Right? So go to your sacral if you're in that confusion and doubt, and then your sacral will let you know yes or no, right? And And the sacred will let you know this is totally worth giving to, you know? Okay. And so then you'll feel fulfilled. Okay. That's what I got for the generator. Oh, am I missing? I'm missing some types here. Let's see. Missing my other types. Generator, reflector. Reflector on there. Yeah. Manifestor, generator. Okay. Just a sec, I gotta download the other ones. Projector. And then the MGs. Okay, let's do the share again. Ooh. Okay. J. Projector. Okay, thank you for your patience. So let's go for the manifesting generator here. Okay. So there's a manifesting generator. So manifesting generators, if you haven't watched the beginning of this video, please do so because I talk about the solar plexus mutation, which is this new awareness system that's coming online in 2027 that you need to know about. Okay. So the transit that we're under this week is the 63. You can see the 63 comes off the crown. And this is the shadow of doubt. Right? So doubt and confusion. And it's just how your mind works. Right? So we're going to be under this pressure to get rid of this doubt and confusion about our life, our relationships, our soul purpose, all that stuff. So I'm going to pick an ego card for the manifesting generators. See what dynamic is coming up. So what do our manifesting generator friends need to know? What's the ego telling the manifesting generator friends? Oh, interesting. He's like getting this card. It's a spiritual ego. Spiritual ego. Okay, with doubt. Doubt. So this is the sneakiest of the sneaky in terms of ego, the spiritual ego. This is when you're on the spiritual path, MGs. You're always going to come up against this spiritual ego. And it's difficult to recognize because it's got all the language, you know? It's got that nice light and love, blessing everybody, you know? It's got that language. So it's difficult to discern, right? Oh, is this my intuition? Because it can sound like your intuition, but it's your ego right here. It's your intuition. So a good rule of thumb is anything that separates you, right? Anything that separates you from another is ego. Because the ego is built on separation, right? So right there, separation, and also, I just had a thought about that with the spiritual ego. It's got the language, separation, um, superiority. There can be a superiority to a spiritual ego. Superiority. I'm not even going to try to spell that. Superiority. It's funny when I'm doing these live streams, like I'm a good speller, right? And you'd never think that with these live streams. It's just that part of my mind just shuts off. It's funny. Okay, so this is there's a superiority, right? So lower or higher, basically. That's the ego. But it's going to be in the context of spiritual language, right? With like I'm on the spiritual path. I'm in this tradition. I've been studying this tradition for this many years, and that there's an identity basically. Remember, the ego is all about identity. So it's identifying MGs but it's going to be spiritual in nature, right? So, um, and it's over intellectualizing, right? So it's using the mind. So let's go back to the mind, right? This has nothing to do with the solar plexus mutation that I've been talking about. It has nothing to do with your intuition. It has nothing to do with your emotions, right? Your feeling tone. Remember that the soul communicates through feeling tone. It has everything to do with your mind, spiritual ego, right? So this shadow of doubt can come in, right? And then use it. Remember, the shadow is all about separation too. And you can use that to separate from others, right? Um, and okay, let's just I need a second here to listen about this, the doubt, listening, confusion. Well, there could be just confusion about the path. Let's go there. So there can be confusion and doubt about your spiritual path, right? Your spiritual path, right? Is this real? Is this real? Right? Is the divine real? The spiritual ego can even go to that place that it's correct, especially if you start listening. Like, don't listen to this mind this week. Like, it's that easy. Just don't put your attention on your mind, pretending that it's your intuition. Your intuition does not come up like it's not reactionary, is what I'm trying to say. It's not reacting. Your intuition doesn't react, right? And it comes from a loving place. It's a loving place, and it's never judgmental towards others. It's not separating from others per se, and it's not running away, right? It's also not running away. So, it intuition is like a soft, it starts with the feel, like I said, the feeling tone, and then this is the subtlety of your intuition, and then it moves to the neutral mind, you could say, as yogis, and then you translate that into your intuition, right? And the intuition is always a win-win for everybody. It may not look like it's a win-win for that other person at the time, but you have to look at things from a spiritual perspective, right? Where each one of us is working out our karmas on this planet. We all have our spiritual lessons that we're learning on this planet. And it's just loving. There's not a reaction, there's not a visceral reaction in the body from it. There's not anger there. It's just this knowingness, like, yes, of course, this is the truth. That's your intuition. So I feel like that's what it's telling you. And also with spiritual ego, it's always looking for power. It's always looking for more power. looking for more money. I want to manifest, right? The manifestation cult. I want to manifest a person. I want to manifest more money. I want to manifest this, manifest that. You're an MG. You're not a manifester. That's not your language. You respond. This is very yin, right? The MGs, it's very yin, very feminine. You're responding to what life is bringing you, right? Moment by moment. So spiritual ego is always pursuing power, right? Not love, right? Versus love. Spiritual ego wants power, 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 power for itself. That's how you know. So be aware of that too with if spiritual teachers are coming into your field and maybe you're looking to, I'm ready to commit to my spiritual journey and my spiritual path. And then you come across, it said, right, there's a prophecy during this time that there'll be so many false prophets. And is this spiritual teacher seeking power, like seeking power over you? Right? It has all the answers for you. You just have to follow them, do everything that they say, right? If they're not pointing you back to your own sense of power, like inner power, then they're not for you. But again, you got the easy way. Don't listen to me. Go to your sacral. Yes or no. That will give you the right answer, right? So no listening to the mind in the mind this week with this trying to get rid of doubt and confusion and figure it all out. And I'm gonna listen to my mind, right? Because it's gonna be bringing up spiritual ego. And that's like nice language, flowery spiritual language, but it's still the mind and it's still going to lead you astray. Go to your sacral, right, with the yes or no. Okay, that's what I got for the MJs. And then let's go for the manifestors. Okay, so we're talking about this transit manifestors, doubt and confusion. And we're going to pick a card for the manifestors, an ego card. Mhm. So what do we have for our manifestors? What do we have for our manifestor friends for this week, for this transit? There we go. So the manifestors have the unlearning card. And so unlearning is sometimes often more important than learning something. And learning, if we look at learning, if we look at our school system, right? Learning, did we really learn, or were we imposed upon? Right? It's and there's a difference. Like education, the true meaning of education is to draw out the wisdom of the student, right? This is the thing. We all have this innate inner wisdom already, but that wasn't the case, right? We weren't in, maybe it's changed now, like with Waldorf and Montessori and those alternative schools, but I'm talking about just the public school system, right? The government indoctrination camps. There was no room for that. It wasn't education. It was just conditioning. That's conditioning, right? You were imposed upon. This is what we want you to know. Here's the information we want you to know. So with doubt, and remember with doubt, the shadow of doubt, the sun in the 63, this is the mind trying to figure out your life, right? I'm doubtful about where I am and this trajectory I'm on, and having doubts about your spiritual path, like things like that is or your belief system. Maybe you're coming up against your belief system that's not aligned with your spiritual path at this time, Well, there needs to be an unlearning process. This is what this is saying, right? So unlearning something, letting go of conditioning, letting go of old beliefs, right? Old beliefs that you've had. And it doesn't involve the mind. So just let the mind do its thing, right? It's under pressure. It's just going to do its thing, right? With images and thoughts, but you don't pay attention to your mind. You meditate, you're still, and then there'll be room for those divine downloads to come to you as a manifester, right? Those inspirations will come to you, right? This is what you want is inspiration. But right now you've got to unlearn. Something's got to, like there's a clog in the drain, right? So you need the Drano, and the divine will help you with that, like just to let go of these belief systems that are blocking you from getting like true inspiration from the divine so that you can initiate. But you need to share first, right? Inform first, and then initiate. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going here. And we'll go to the projectors here. So projectors, if you haven't watched the rest of the video, I suggest that you do as a projector. Okay, so we're going to pick an ego card projector for you. Okay. So what do we have for our projective friends for this week? What do we have for our projective friends for this week? Suppression, or repression of energy. Okay. So again, the transit is the shadow of doubt. Doubt. So under mental pressure to figure things out. Not a good place for you, projector. The mind is never meant to be our authority. No, 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 no. So suppression. So this is really suppressing your authenticity. And remember the image that I used. I'll just flip back here, projectors, right? So if we look at you as the passenger, I'm bringing this back into the spiritual perspective here, human design. The passenger is your soul. That's your soul. And your soul goes all the way back to formless awareness. And this is the higher self. This is the self that we all share, right? This is the sun. If you want to look at it like that, the oneness, and each one of these rays are the billions and billions of billions of rays that connect to a soul. The ray comes from the sun, the oneness. So that's where we come from. And then our authenticity is this ray, right? So formless awareness, and then we individuate, right? And then we're this ray. It's like the wave in the ocean, too, if you want to use that analogy. And that's the soul. And this is your authenticity, right? So if this isn't moving, this is what animates you. The soul is what animates you. You're just a zombie or an NPC or something, right? You're not you. You're not in your power. I talked about this that they did this great study. I've talked about this before. They did this awesome study where they could measure the frequencies coming off these certain people, and they were measuring the frequency of someone who was angry, somebody who was sad, somebody who was in a state of love, right? And the highest frequency, the most powerful frequency, no, it wasn't anger, no, it wasn't love, it was authenticity when that person was being their authentic self. So that's your power. And then this ego card is saying that you're suppressing this. And why do we suppress? Because we worry about what other people think of us. I can't be, I'm too much. My authenticity is too much. It triggers people, right? As a projector. I'm not going to look at that person because they'll get triggered with my laser beam eyes on them, right? Feeling the projector aura on them. This part of your authenticity, right? Is your projector aura. Um, and not expressing your authenticity, right? Not expressing for whatever reason. I'm holding back for whatever reason. And usually it goes back to childhood stuff, right? I'm not expressing. I'm not full throttle. I'm not my full throttle self. I'm just like little bits of I throttle a little tiny bit, right? But I'm holding myself back. Well, that's going to lead to distortion, that energy, because it's got to flow. You're a ray of sun. It's got to flow through you, right? Through your vehicle, through the light in your eyes, through your voice, through your aura, everywhere. What's going to lead to distortion? That will lead to distortion. And then it's going to get out kind of in perverted ways. I want to, if I can use that word, perverted. It means that it's not authentic, right? It's in shadow. It's got mixtures of shadow and things like that. Um, so you want to make a baby step. So whatever your intuition has been telling you, because remember this video is about not listening to the mind, like really training yourself now to go to your strategy and authority and to go to your emotional body, right? Your emotional body. And listen, people are triggered by projectors. They're triggered by projectors, especially if you got the 3955. You're here to provoke. Maybe you've got that channel, your emotional projector, right? You're going to trigger people. But they're just going to have that's their experience. You're not everybody's cup of tea. You can't please everybody, you know? The divine will let you know who's for you and who's not for you. So we kind of have to get a thick skin as projectors because we're not for everyone, you know? As soon as you think that you're for everyone, you're not you. You're not you at all, right? If you're trying to, it means that you're not being yourself, basically, because you can't. It's impossible to be everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody's going to love you, right? You're only meant for a certain few, and it's all destined, right? It's all destined. So, so the doubt can come in. Let's look at this for projectors. So the doubt can come in with, oh, I shouldn't say that, right? Especially if you've been invited. Somebody's invited you. Like, I need your help with this. I'm in this pattern. I'm in this pattern. I don't know where it's coming from. And then you're like, oh, I can't. This is a suppression, right? The ego is like, no, you can't say that. No, especially if you got an open solar plexus too as a projector, you can't say that. You better not give them the full truth. You may get rejected or ostracized or whatever, right? So as soon as that invitation has come, you have to look at it not as that person, oh, the person's inviting me to guide them. No, you got to look at it like the divine has invited me. The divine, that's who I'm answering, the divine within that person, right? So if we go back here, their soul has invited, here I am in my limo as a projector, and then I come across a generator or an MG, right? You're not looking at the person. You're not looking at their ego. You're looking at their soul. That's who you answer to. Their soul has invited me, my soul, to help guide them, right? And that's going to get rid of the distortion, right? You're in distortion when you're in your ego. Your ego's never going to let you really help that other person. The ego will never let you shine, right? As a projector, because it means it loses power over you. Okay. So make a baby step, right? Make a little baby step. Someone's invited me and I'm going to, here's what I really want to say. And maybe it's like, oh, well, I can't. No, just make a baby step. Go full throttle. It's like, okay, here's what I see because I'm answering to their soul, right? And then see what happens, right? See what happens, but don't listen to the mind, right? And then if you're getting the zing, the recognition, and you're all lit up, it's go time, green light, go for it. Um, that's what I would say for the projectors. Okay. Okay, and let's finish it off with the reflectors. Okay. The reflectors. We're in the Scorpio moon today, reflectors. So deeply psychological. Scorpio. So what card do we have for the reflectors? Card do we have for the reflectors? What ego trap card do we have for the reflectors? Yeah, we got two. We got two for the reflectors. So be sure to let me know if you're a reflector because there's only 1% of you. I want to know who you are in the comment section. So, reflectors, we're talking about the transit, which is in the shadow of doubt. You can see here, it's up here. It's all about the mind. Under pressure to get rid of doubt. In the ego card, you got self-sabotage. You can see him cutting the limb, right? So he's going to fall. And then comparison. So this is sabotaging. This is the ego sabotaging you by comparison, right? I'm not, especially as a reflector, because you're only 1% of the world. Well, I'm not like this person, or I'm not like that person. I'm not as good as that other person. This is how the ego stops you from moving forward on your spiritual journey. Well, it's covered, right? Somebody else is doing it. They're better than I am. Yeah. And it's about the ego loves to compare itself, right? That's not you. So there can be doubts about you, right? There can be doubts that come up from the mind about you and your ability, right? And your gifts and your talents as a reflector. Um, and so not to listen to your mind, right? Not listen to your mind. Be be really attuned, well, to the program, like you're following the program. And just that's what I would suggest this week is to be really aware of. You're going to really feel it as a project or as a reflector is the mind, the pressure of the mind with the doubt and the confusion, you know? And so this is where you get to help others as a reflector because you're going to see the program moving through other people just with their words, and then go, oh wow, that person is so under the program now, and you're able to be able to reflect that back, right? Their conditioned thinking. So this is a self-sabotage that's keeping you out of your power is comparison. Don't go there, right? If we go back to the image, there's only one ray, that's the soul, right? There's one ray. So that's you. That's the reflector. There's one ray. There's no other rays that are you, just the one ray. That's your uniqueness. That's your uniqueness. That's your authenticity. That's your soul. So it's kind of crazy to compare yourself with another ray. Well, I'm not as good as that ray over there because they're not you. And they may be doing the same thing to you, comparing themselves to you. There's only one you, you know? Okay. So that's what I have for this week. And I don't feel like I'm on 100% of my game, but hopefully people glean some guidance with this transit here in my stress. It's time to take away that authority from your mind. It's time to really train yourself to do that because 2027 is coming fast, you know? And the mind is just going to be overwhelmed, Pluto and Aquarius, with information overload. We're going to see more mental health issues, right? So now's the time to just start training. And we've got strategy and authority, right? That's a huge help right now during this time. Okay. So I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Sat Nam Aloha, everyone. Bye bye.